best car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Hello and welcome to the Frontier Motor Show. My name is Iven Streckel, and this is about the 27th year that we are doing the show. And at the Frontier Motor Show, we talk a little bit about what's going on in the car industry, also a little bit what's going on in the Pensacola area, and also at Frontier Motors. If you're not familiar with Frontier Motors, we're a large independent dealership, which means that independent means that we are not a franchise, so we sell only used cars, even though we do have a lot of cars that are like brand new 2024 model car, 2023 model cars. So our claim to fame at Frontier Motors is the alternative to new. So if you think about buying a brand new car, you might want to pop into Frontier Motors to get some information. We have the invoices on every new car, so we can tell you what the dealer paid. We can let you know, of course, what the list price on a particular car is. But the main thing I think we can help you with is what your car would be worth when you're trading it in. So if you decide to go to, for example, let's say you want to buy a Lexus, you go to Lexus Mobile and you look at a car there, wouldn't it be nice to have an appraisal in your back pocket from Frontier Motors of what we tell you the car is worth, but also what we would buy that car from you for? And the other thing is, if you stop in to get that information, what if we have a 2024 or 2023 Lexus sitting on a lot that's got maybe 5,000 or 10,000 miles that's still under factory warranty? Wouldn't it be nice to know what the difference would be as far as the depreciation between one that's maybe 6 months old versus a brand new one? Now, back in 2002 and 2001, some of the used cars were selling as much as new cars because there weren't any new cars. So the customers that came in during the pandemic that wanted a car right now, they would have to wait months and months to get one from the dealer. So they stopped in at Frontier Motors, and they were surprised at times that it wasn't that much less than a brand new one would have been. Now, what some of the new car dealers were doing is they were putting a marketing adjustment on their cars. I saw going up and down Car City, I went to all the dealerships on a Sunday, and they had these little addendum stickers on their cars. This was back in 20 and 21. Of up to $10,000 over window sticker price. So ours actually became a pretty good deal, even though it was original window sticker. Well, times have changed, and one of the things that we talk about in the show is, again, what's going on in the industry. Well, a good thing to report is used cars have dropped way down in the last 6 months to where now they are a bargain again compared to a brand new car. The new cars are back. I was looking at what's going on in the industry as far as production is concerned. And new cars are floating out of the factories to the dealerships. And when you drive up Car City, you can actually go on dealers' lots and see cars sitting on the lot, which about 2 years ago was impossible. All the cars that came off the truck were sitting there for maybe 3 days, and then they got delivered because they were pre-sold. Well, that's not the case anymore. I see also the rebates are going up on new cars for the first time in about 3.5 years. And that means that there's inventory, because they'll start giving incentives to customers to come and buy their cars because they're sitting and they need to move them off the lot. So as the rebates go up, what does that do to the vehicles that we have at Frontier Motors? Well, when we're buying those cars, we know what the rebates are, so we buy them at quite a discounted rate, so that when you compare your out-the-door price after everything, including the taxes, the title, and everything, that we are going to show you enough of a savings where it makes it worth your while to buy a used car. And normally the savings, of course, it depends on the price of the car. The more expensive the car is, if you're looking at a $100,000 a car versus a $40,000 car, if it's a 20% savings in the first year, you're going to save $20,000 on a $100,000 car. On a $40,000 car, you might only save $4,000 to $5,000, maybe $6,000, which to most people, if the car's got very low miles on it and still under warranty, they're going to go ahead and purchase that car at those savings. Some people will say, well, I'm scared of buying a used car. And years and years ago, it was a little scary situation because they didn't have history reports. Well, now what we do at Frontier Motors, and we've been advertising this for the last 15 years, but back when we started, they didn't have Carfax reports. They didn't have auto check reports. We didn't use the phones to scan the ID numbers of the car and get you an appraisal within 15 minutes. and a buy bid within 15 minutes because we didn't have that technology. Well, now we do. Well, about 15 years ago, they came out with the history reports, and we first started with AutoCheck, and then now what we do is we do the Carfax reports. So the reports look like this, and they tell you a lot of things, a lot of more things than they used to 15 years ago. Well, the first thing that we, of course, look at is if it's a branded title. A branded title would be a car like a salvage title, a junk title, a rebuild title, a fire damaged vehicle, especially a flood. We get that quite often around here, a flood damaged vehicle. So that will show up on the history report. The other thing that we're going to be able to find out is if there's an odometer problem. Let's say at one point the car had 70,000 miles on it, and then 4 months later the car started over with 30,000 miles on it. Well, that's an odometer problem. So you'd want to know about that before you plunk your money down, because that means somebody tampered with the odometer, and which is a major deal. A total loss is going to be on here, structural damage. It'll also tell you if the vehicle's been in an accident. Now, we always stay away from cars that have been in major or moderate accidents. And what I mean by stay away from is if I see a car at the auction, or if somebody pulls in off the street and says, hey, would you buy my car? If it's been in a major accident, we wouldn't buy the car. Now, we would take it in trade, but I'm just letting you know that if you are going to trade a car in that's had a major accident, you're going to get less money for it. And that's one of the things that we talk about. One of the things that we offer at Frontier Motors is free diminished value reports. And what a diminished value report is for you is that somebody runs into you and they damage your car. Let's say you took delivery of a Chevy Corvette down at Sandy Sansing over on 29, or Pete Moore down in Navy Boulevard, and let's say you drove that car home and somebody broadsides you, they run a red light, they broadside you, and you have $35,000 of damage. Well, that car isn't going to be totaled because it might be a $100,000 Corvette. So it's not going to be totaled, but it will show up on the Carfax report. Major accident reported, airbags deployed, vehicle was towed from the scene. Well, what does that do to the value? Well, it's going to give you a diminished value. If it wasn't your fault, the other person's insurance company should compensate you, because if you stop at a car dealership and get your car appraised after it's fixed, you might, on a car like the example I'm just using, you might have $10,000 worth of diminished value on that car, and you should be made whole by the other person's insurance company because we're going to appraise that car for less. So we would take that car in trade, but we want to make sure that we disclose it to the next owner, and we're also going to save you money. We always urge you to get a car inspected. That's what we do. When we get a car in trade that's been in a major accident, we make sure that we get a professional to look at that car so we know what we're getting, to make sure it's been fixed properly, and also make sure that the vehicle still might have some warranty from the body shop that fixed it, to make sure they fixed it properly. And then we're going to also make sure that we buy that vehicle for less money so we can save you the money. Now, why would you buy a car that's been in a major accident? Most people will either turn around and walk out if they see that particular car that's been in an accident, or they're going to say, well, how much is it? And if the car is $10,000 less and the car is still under factory warranty, and the vehicle has been fixed properly, a lot of people might say, well, for $10,000, I would buy that particular car. Now, by the way, you don't get diminished value if it was your fault. If you run into a tree, your car is going to be worth less after they fix it, but you're not going to get diminished value because you're the one who ran it up the tree. I don't think the tree fell into you. So those are some of the things that we will help you with when you're thinking about buying a new car. Also, as far as a new car is concerned, again, what the dealer cost is, what you should offer. We can tell you what the rebates and incentives are, and we can tell you what your out-the-door figure should be, what we consider would be a fair deal on a brand new car. And then we'll also, even if we don't have that car like that in stock, we can also tell you what one would cost. We don't stock every car. Right now, we're somewhere between 200 and 250 cars on the lot at all times. So we don't have every single car that's available. For example, we don't stock a lot of electric cars. In our area, obviously you see driving in Pensacola, you're going to see Tesla cars, you're going to see the new Kia cars, you're going to see some electric cars on the lot, but it's still such a minor right now. When we talk about electric, we're at 7% for the year for electric cars. So that means if they sell 1 million cars in 1 month, you're going to have 700,000 of those cars are going to be electric, which is a small fraction. So we don't have a lot of people coming in and asking for electric cars. I would venture to say that within 1 to 2 weeks, I can get you the car in the color that you want at a huge reduced price. I don't know if you know this, but Tesla, for example, about 6 months ago has dropped their prices considerably. Thousands and thousands of dollars they dropped it on all their models across the board. Well, guess what that did to used Teslas? It dropped them whatever. If they dropped the price $10,000, that used one immediately went down an extra $10,000. So there's still a gap between a 23 model used Tesla versus what a brand new one's going to be. They'll entice you to buy a brand new one saying, well, we just dropped our price $10,000. And some of the new ones have a very good price on them. I think a Model 3 lists out at like $40,000 where it used to be over 50. But what does that do to a 23 or a 24 used model? It brings the price way down, so we're still competitive. And by showing you a car that's got a clean history report and also that has factory warranty left on it and that has no issues, a non-smoker. When we buy our cars at the auction, we don't buy all of our cars at the auction. People always ask, well, where do you get your cars? Well, we do get a percentage of them at the auction. The ones that I'm talking about that are 2024 and 23 and 22 model cars are normally bought at the auction. And one of the reasons that we like buying those cars at the auction because the auctions will guarantee those cars. What that means is they'll sell them under a green light, which means that if they've had anything that's not disclosed, they will buy that car back from us if our buyer doesn't catch it. Well, one of the things that we do different at Frontier Motors that most dealerships don't do, we actually have a buyer that travels to the auctions. We very rarely ever buy one sight unseen. So we have our buyers go down there and they smell the cars to make sure it's a non-smoker. They make sure that there's nothing wrong with the car. They make sure there's no nicks or scratches that you can't see on pictures because they take the pictures of the cars, but you can't see if it's got nick or if it's been touched up with paint all the way around it because if the inside of the tires are bald, the outside have a lot of tread, but maybe they have never been rotated, so the inside are somewhat bald, which means it needs new tires. So our buyers go to the auction and they will look at those cars and then they'll make those bids on those cars after they've seen the car. So if the car needs tires, it doesn't mean we won't buy it, but a set of tires these days probably average around $1,000. I know that's kind of sticker shock on tires. When we got in the business years ago, we used to talk about $400 is the average for a set of tires. Right now we think it's about we don't think, we know it's about $1,000. Some like Corvette tires are $2,000 for them. So we have to take that into consideration when we buy a car. And so we send our buyers to the auction, and those are the cars that we buy to auction because, again, they're green light. The older cars, people say, well, you don't have a lot of older cars on lot. Yes, we do, because we aggressively go out and advertise that we buy cars from private individuals. So if you're going to buy a used car somewhere or a new car somewhere, you stop at a Frontier Motors and we advertise that within 15 minutes, we can give you a buy bid on that car. Not just what the book value is, but actually what we'll write a check for. And if you've got the title in your back pocket, we can write a check for you. And if you're within the area, we can even give you a ride home and you're done. You don't have to worry about having that trade in. Or if you're a family maybe that's got 3 or 2 cars and you're going down to 1-car family, and you say, well, I can put it on Craigslist or put it on Facebook Marketplace or put it on Auto Trader. Don't do that. Just bring us the car and we'll write you a check for it and you're done. You can cancel the insurance, take your license plate off of it, and get a ride home. So we buy a lot of our cars off the street. Right now we're at about somewhere between 6 to 10 cars every week that we buy from private individuals. And of course, having a lot of these 22 models to 24 model cars on the lot, we also take a lot of nice trade-ins. So about 50% of our cars are going to be cars that are older, that are traded in or purchased off the street. And then the other 50% of them are going to be that alternative to new car that I've been talking about. In the car industry right now, things are going on. Something I just saw yesterday is that the new E-Ray Corvette. Have you ever heard of that before? E-Ray Corvette is the new hybrid electric / gas-powered Corvette. Well, they just announced that that's going to be the new Indy car for the IndyCar 500 race over Memorial Weekend. It is, by the way, the 21st time since 1978 that a Corvette has been selected. So Corvette seems to be the hot car. And the hybrid E model is joined in the lineup this year, has a 6.2-liter V8 motor, an electric motor combined with that for a total horsepower of 655 horsepower. That is the highest horsepower Corvette, stock Corvette that they've built. It goes from 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. 1, 2.5. And you're at 60 miles an hour. Isn't that crazy? That is unbelievable. So that's what's going on. And the other article that says that the VW has a new minivan that's going to be out. They've been selling it in Europe for 2 years now. It's going to be an elongated stretch minivan because we like them bigger here, and it's going to come out in 2025, and it's called the Buzz. Don't ask me who. Don't ask me who comes up with these names. Buzz, the Volkswagen Buzz, and that is going to come our way. I've seen a picture of it. It's really cool. You know, the designers are really smart. You know, obviously everybody knows that the manufacturers and the government is pushing everybody to electric. I personally, of course, think it's a joke. Obviously, not everybody does. I saw an article that just came out this morning in Automotive News, and that Cadillac could keep selling vehicles, gasoline vehicles, past 2030. You know, Cadillac announced about 2 years ago that after 2030, they're done with gasoline-powered cars. Everything's going to be electric. And they're coming out with newer electric cars. But now they're talking about, well, maybe not so fast. Even though they're coming out with, like right now, the Cadillac has a Lyriq. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a really cool looking car. One of the things that they're doing with electric cars, the designers are getting into building these cars, and they're making them look really cool. I saw a Lyriq down at Palafox Market the other day. Somebody had it parked there, and I looked at it and said, what is that? And I looked in the back of it. It was a Cadillac Lyriq. I mean, it's really cool looking, but it's completely electric. It's not a hybrid. You know, hybrid means you've got a gas-powered motor and electric, which I kind of think is kind of cool. I was looking at a Lexus the other day, and it's a hybrid Lexus. The first 33 miles are completely electric, and then it flips over to gas-powered, and it's got a 400-mile range on gas. Like, you can drive it like a regular gas-powered car, which is that kind of the best of both worlds. So if you do around-town driving, you know, if you go to the market and back, or you go to Gulf Breeze and back from Pensacola, you can go all electric. You plug it in, the next morning you've got another 33 miles to go, and if you run out of juice, it flips over to gas, which I think is great. And hybrids are right now the bomb. Everybody's looking at hybrids, but they're not so much looking at electric cars. So they got the Lyriq and the Cadillac. They've got the electric Escalade coming next year. They got a couple of other wacko names that they're putting in some of these cars, which I don't really understand how they're coming up with these names. A Lyriq and a Syriq and something else. But anyways, electric to me, until they get this thing handled with the infrastructure, until they get this thing handled with the range, you know, the average range of an electric car is about 200 miles. Some of them are now at 300 miles, and I saw that one of the cars that came out with the Lucid has a 400 and some mile range, so they're getting better, but the charging systems still aren't there. It's kind of a joke when you see a car at the side of the road being charged with a generator, so it kind of defeats the purpose. So I'm jumping around a little bit as far as what's going on. Frontier Motors, again, is a large independent dealership on Beverly Parkway. We're going our 20th year of business. We're one of the largest independent dealers in our area, and the advantage of that, of course, is that we have a huge selection. And the other thing we do is if we don't have exactly what you're looking for, we've got a great locate service where we write down what you're looking for, and we aggressively go out and pursue that vehicle. It's called a locate, and we do this on a handshake. We don't do this with money down. You know, we tell you how much it's going to be before it gets here. We tell you what your trade-in's worth. And one of the things that we do different at Frontier Motors is we give you an out-the-door price in writing. And when I don't mean just the taxes. There's dock fees. You know how many fees there are when you buy a car. And we know what those fees are, and we don't really care what other dealers charge. I don't care if they charge you a $1,000 fee. If their price is lower and they charge you a fee, it all makes sense, right? But what we do to have you compare is give you one figure. That's the out-the-door price. It doesn't really matter what a dealer is asking for a car and then the discount and the rebate. It doesn't really matter what they're giving you for the trade-in. The only thing matters is what do you got to write that check for after the trade-in? Or if you're going to finance it, whether you're writing a check or financing, it's the same dollar amount. They don't charge you more if you pay cash, and they don't give you a break if you finance. So what happens is that if our out-the-door figure after your trade-in is $20,000 with everything included, you go to the new car dealership and it's $26,000, and our car is 1 year old with 10,000 miles on, it's an easy decision to make. I mean, I would take the $6,000 savings as long as the car is under warranty and is the one you want and has no issues. Some people might say, and I had this happen years ago on a Lexus, where our price difference was $10,000 on 1 year Lexus, and the guy went and bought a brand new one. I asked him, why'd you do that? He said, well, $10,000 wasn't enough to sway me. So everybody is in a different category. Some of the lesser expensive cars, I remember years ago we sold a Toyota Corolla. It was $3,000 less than a brand new one, and the customer says, in my budget, $3,000 is a lot of money, and our car was like brand new. I think it might have had 500 miles on it. So when we talk about getting back to the Carfax reports, people say, well, I'm not sure if I want to buy a used car because what if something's wrong with it? That's why we do these reports. And again, that's why we have a buyer that looks at the cars before we buy, and we want to make sure it's a non-smoker, no nicks and dents, no scratches on it, and that we're going to save you money, and that it has a clean history report. When you're buying an older used car, by the way, I love the newer history reports because they give you so much information. They tell you where the vehicle was purchased. So if you're getting a vehicle from Alaska, for example, you'd want to know if you're getting a vehicle from Alaska or Maine, or I'm from Wisconsin originally, so I would want to know if I'm buying a Wisconsin car. If the vehicle has been up north for a year or 2 years, it's not a big issue. But if the vehicle's been up there 3 or more years, I'd want to know about it because I want to check it out for rust. I want to check the suspension system. If you get a car out of the Northeast, their roads in the winter are awful. There are a lot of potholes, and you can wear a suspension out within 3 years on some cars up there, depending on the car. So I would want to know that. So that'll tell you that. It'll tell you when the first owner bought it, which means that way you'll know how much warranty is left on. Because if you bought it 2 years ago and it's a car with a 3-year warranty, you still have 1 year left on that warranty. You want to know about that. How many years do you got left, or if it's a 2-year-old car, you got 1 year. And some of these cars, like a Hyundai and a Kia, they have 5-year warranties. Well, if it's 2 years old, you still have 3 years of warranty left, which is as long as what you get with a Chevrolet. This particular Carfax I'm looking at is on a Corvette, and it tells you the mileage, every mileage. It tells you how often it was in for service. Here it was in at AutoNation for maintenance inspection. Then another year later, it had a fuel pump put on it, had maintenance inspection. Then the vehicle got sold a year after that. It tells you when the new owner purchased it, and he got inspected. He replaced the keys on it for some reason. Maybe he lost the keys, so he had to replace them. They replaced a fuel filler cap on it, so that maybe the fuel filler cap got lost or got broken, and then it was inspected again. Looks like the guy had the oil changed every year, or it looks like every year, so they must have used synthetic oil. The rotors were resurfaced, and front brake pads were done at 30,000 miles. So that's why you come to Frontier Motors for your free Carfax report, because it'll give you so much information. Any car that we look at, we do a Carfax report on it. So if you call us up and say, hey, I want to know if you'd buy my car, the first thing we ask you for is the ID number, because we want to say, if this car's got a rebuilt title or it's a junk car, we save you the trip. We say we're not interested in that particular car. But if it's got a clean history report, and we can actually give you a buy bid over the phone. So again, Frontier Motors, we've only got a couple of minutes left. Over 200 cars in inventory. If you go to frontiermotorsinc.com, you're going to see that we've got at least 30 to 40 pictures of every car. Every car has got a price on there, and we've got a little click thing you can click on to get the total out the door price. So that might mean there might be a discount. Some cars we have on there that are at a sale price that we've see what the competition has, and we've reduced that car down already. Some cars we might have a little room to play on the pricing. We're not a one-price car dealership, so we don't. The nice thing about Frontier Motors is we don't ask you to make an offer. We give you an offer. So our offer to you when you come to the dealership is we're going to say, here's what it is, here's what we can discount the car, here's the bottom line, here's the taxes, here's the doc fee, here's the tag transfer, and here's your total out the door price. And we put that in writing, so if you want to go car shopping, we don't get mad at you. I think that if I was buying a big ticket item, I'd want to get a couple of different opinions, but we're so sure and confident in the pricing that we give you that you're going to come back and buy our car. And that's really our claim to fame, that we don't pressure you into making a decision. We want you to buy the car when you're ready. We're always ready to take your order, but you might not be ready to give the order. But we know by computer, that's kind of cool thing with the new computer system. We know what everybody's got in our area, so we can kind of do the shopping for you. So when we give you our price, and when we buy that car originally, we already look up everybody's sale price on their car, so that when we market our car at Frontier Motors, that we're going to have the best deal for you. So we're not embarrassed to advertise that we're going to have the best price. And a lot of times it's not always just the best price, it's the best deal. And the deal could be a car that has lower miles. It could be a car that might not be the least expensive one out there, but is the best condition car. That most people put the emphasis on the condition of the car, then the miles, and of course equipment is important. If we have a lot of the safety equipment that a lot of people are wanting right now, automatic braking, automatic backup, stop, the blind side detection, those things are all important to save your life and also get better insurance rates. And if our car has that and the competition doesn't have it, that means our car is a better deal. The color makes a big difference. Is our car an ugly car, or is our car a good-looking car? So, and that, of course, is in the eye of the beholder. I'm not one to buy a purple car, but I see a lot of purple cars out there. I'm thinking, like, I wouldn't buy one of those. I normally am not one that's going to be buying a green car, but I see green cars out there. So it really depends on the masses, what the average is. The number one selling color last year, I believe, was silver/charcoal. Was the numbers years ago? It used to be always white, and then it was black. So color makes a big difference in the car. If it's not a popular color, you're going to be able to buy it cheaper. And you'll notice that also now when you look at a new car, it's so interesting how they have different prices for different colors. They never used to do that. When they first came out, Cadillac came out with a pearl white color years ago, and that was a $1,000 option. Well, now pearl white is standard, and the other cars are an option. So anyways, it's not always the best price when you buy a car. It's the best deal, which is mileage, condition, color, and equipment. So again, Frontier Motors, 230 Beverly Parkway. Check us out on the web. And we also have a great Facebook site where our cars will be on Facebook. And again, after doing this for 28 years, being one of the largest independent dealers, you're going to really enjoy when you come in because there's a no-pressure situation. The cars are all unlocked every single day. You can look at your leisure. Our salespeople have a price list they can give you so you can walk around and look at the price list. And then if you've got a question on it, if you want to take it for a test drive, you can take it for a test drive. If you want to get it inspected, we urge you to get the car inspected. We give you the history report, which is put in the glove box on every single car. And we give you a trade-in value on your car. And if you decide not to buy from us, we will still buy your car from you. That's where we get a lot of our cars. So that really is what sets us apart from the competition. And our other claim to fame is low overhead country. We bought our place years and years ago. Very little money, no multi-million-dollar showroom. Low overhead, that's Frontier Motors. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.